Good day.
Hello, sir.
For the session. I'm participating in the Timbuktu Manutech thematic. Um, I've discovered that multinational manufacturing organizations, they have one pressing challenge that they want to tackle as fast as possible, which is reducing their greenhouse gas emission. Some has a timeline of 2030 and some has up to 2042 and so on. What advice can you or what guidance can you give to startups who have identified some of these multinational companies have identified their different scopes of emission from the scope one, two, three, which is direct emission, indirect, and the third party emission, which comes from majorly their supply chain and partnership and sales of their products. So, what guidance can you give to these startups that have identified these and is trying to, bring their attention to say, this is what we are doing. This is how we think we could help you to achieve this goal within this time frame? And I mean, what are some go-to-market strategies that you can give? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Why, can you just educate me on why it helps them to have lower greenhouse gas emissions? Do they save money, or is it something that is more legislative, or is it just on the basis of helping the environment, or all of the above?
So most, not even most, in all cases, in recent times, they want to reduce these emissions based on compliance. Also, uh, most of the time the stakeholders are as well looking into their record and saying, is your process, is it sustainable? Is your not just your product good enough? Is it affecting the planet positively or negatively? So these are some reasons why most of them they want to really tackle this challenge. And of course, it's a global standard at the moment.
Gotcha, gotcha. I appreciate the insight. So, ergo, from working in governments, my understanding has always been that if you're an uncompliant company with national legislation, you can get fined, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a greenhouse gas protocol that all of this falls into. I mean, the framework that it falls into.
Cool. Gotcha. Thank you, Lawrence. Um, Listen, here's what I would do. What I can only talk from my own perspective, right? What I would do is I want to know, first off, my mindset is then these companies need me, right? They need you, Lawrence, because if you're not there, then they could be uncompliant, which means that they can get X amount of fines potentially per year, right? That could cost them, let's say, I don't know, $800,000 per year in being uncompliant. If they're unsustainable, it's going to be very, very difficult to raise money from other places that do have sustainable legislation as it pertains to investment, especially from places like Canada and places like that. You won't be able to raise money from there because you're not a sustainable company. So I always like to put a dollar figure on these things. That's what really grabs people. I learned that from one of the partners at GVP, actually. He used to come into these meetings. He used to crack me up. I was like, wow, this is so good. He used to come in and he used to throw these massive, not massive, like compared to obviously what we do now, but these large numbers out. And you just saw people's face change. Like we'd be in these government meetings and we'd say, this is how much, we can save on the basis of doing this energy agreement. And people's faces just used to change, and it used to just change someone's whole tact immediately, right? So I think that obviously the reach out is obviously one thing, right? I think that you just need to be able to hunt these people down. That's very, very key. So if it's LinkedIn or whatever it is, you need to be able to talk to people and hunt them down, find out where they're going to be at, find out what conferences they're going to be at, try and book meetings at their offices, You have to, when we talked about resilience, that was one of the first things I brought up, and this is part of it. You have to be able to hunt them down because ultimately you have something that helps them. And I wish it was more interconnected, our world, because there's people out there that can help my company. I just don't know who they are. So first off, you have to understand it from a framing standpoint that you were there to help them, and they need to be able to understand that. So it's you are an integral part of the ecosystem, but they need to understand the scope in that, right? So if they're then going to be able to save, let's say, I don't know what that dollar figure looks like, Lawrence, so I'm just going to say $500,000, right? So if they're able to save $500,000 a year in being compliant from sustainability, and they then, because they are a sustainable company, and they are hitting their SDG goals, for example, that then gives them access to another $5 billion in finance globally, right? Like if you're a multinational manufacturing firm, that you can then raise investment. You raise investment, it means you can have more warehouses, more factories, you can pay for more lobbying, you can then go into more countries, you can manufacture more goods, you can export more goods. It then increases the capability and the market cap of your company by like 50x. And then you're saying to them, all you need to do is make sure that your greenhouse emissions are X, and we want to help you with that, and it's going to cost you $10,000, right? You see how that changes the entire framing. You know what I mean? So it went from, so now the $10,000 doesn't even matter because it's, you now have the capacity to be able to grow the company to a much higher level than that, right? And that I think is very, very important. Once you get that down, what is that company going to save? What is the potential commercial proposition? And we talked about it earlier. Like it's all good. That's why I wanted to find out from you specifically what the numbers are, because these people, like, I know these guys. It's like they're just, yeah, we all care about greenhouse emissions. We all care about sustainability. But if it's going to cost them money without any potential monies in return, that's a hard sell. That is a hard sell for most people. You're going to then have to find someone who is, who has the right mindset and the right mentality and who cares about the planet. It's not going to be a massive, impact on them or their family, right? People think about these things. You get older, you got like 5 kids. It's like that's the first thing you think about. You don't think about what you're doing to the environment, but then you're framing it now that this is not only what it's going to save from a sustainability standpoint, but commercially, this is what can be attributed and this is what you can save. Then it puts your proposition into a whole new light, right? That's the differentiation. And then if you can then add on, then, as a further step to your business, that you can then help with connecting them to, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, for example, to help with finance and that stuff. Maybe down the line, that's what you can do extra, right? So that they understand that it's like a continuing relationship. Maybe you have an advisory firm as well to help them then generate money after that sustainability is reached. Very, very exciting area. It's a very interesting area, and it's something that a lot of people want to plug into more. I mean, the Uruguayan, I don't know if he was an energy minister or an energy advisor who was talking to the Jamaicans, that they were like the entire of Jamaica could just run off renewable energy, right? And that's obviously a very exciting thing because then reliant you're not reliant on other forms of energy, you're not reliant on oil the same way, and we can see what can happen. I'm not going to give everyone a history lesson, but the whole concept of the petrodollar kind of after the war, World War II, and how that allowed the US to become the only really global superpower after everyone was bankrupt after the war, is a fascinating story. So a lot of people are trying to push away from that, and Europe has kind of spearheaded that for a while now. But we actually have most of the capabilities on the continent, right? That's why the continent is the best place in the world to invest right now. And you've got to understand, people notice these things. I work with the UAE government. I mean, you're looking at a country that, Jack, the minister mentioned this on the Timbuktoo Africa CEO forum. The UAE has invested $140 billion in predominantly over the past 4 years, predominantly into green tech, right? So there's a reason why they're doing that. Is it not, there is a reason why they're plugging into these things, you know. And I think that's very, very important, in all of this to keep a note of. So I hope that helps, and I hope that answers your question, Lawrence.
Thank you, Josh.
Awesome. Okay. And Josh, maybe you could answer the